probably arguably they're the best DeFi team in the market right now is the North Korean hacking team in many regards. One question for you, Gal, on that particular topic, because let's say a lot of these tradition, let's say if we go back to 3 years, a lot of these exploit would happen on chain. They'll find a bug, they'll exploit it. Great, right? And I want to ask you about AI in a second. But to what extent is the human engineering element relevant? Like, could just by looking on chain, could you have found out about these configurations, or you needed some human intelligence, or social engineering to reverse engineer that process as well?
I think we see, right, like from an attacker point of view, and we can talk about North Korea and how they structure, right, like their teams and the organization around different elements and teams. But in the end, you're trying to find, right, like the low-hanging fruit, like the smallest effort to get the highest ROI. And people are always the easier target or the weakest link. And then when the next easier link is the infrastructure players, right? Because instead of attacking specific person, you can attack a bridge, you can attack a wallet, you can attack an RPC provider, a staking provider, and essentially affect many different type of users. And this we see that the DPRK and others are using these techniques and building a very sophisticated organization that try to infiltrate employees to this organization, or also like phish and scam and execute malware or different type of vulnerabilities. In terms of the detection of this specific incident, I think there are many different things that a security company could have done, and this comes from, right, like setting up the DVN more than one, which is, right, like essentially what happened there was that one node could approve this release instead of three. So think about it like you have a multi-sig, but only one of the signers can accept the transaction. And then you could also engage with a transaction simulation or a co-signer, like a third-party solution that knows to take the transaction before you actually send it on chain and do like independent checks of the node itself, right? And this is a best practice, I think, again, that anyone that has any wallet or transaction signing process should deploy. And Hypernative or other companies provide this service, but it's, right, like in the end, you don't want to rely on humans, especially when transactions are becoming more and more automated today from different type of use cases. And also you don't want to depend on the infrastructure that you're doing to do that transaction approval process, right? And then there were a lot of, right, like things that can happen on chain based on the detection, right? From like if you are deploying something on Aave and you see this happening, or when you are, right, like seeing the transaction after it happened and you can freeze it depending on the specifics. So there were few various things that could have been done along the way.
So you mentioned, Gal, that the weakest link is the people, right? That's the first layer on it. I've been very, very surprised of, back in the day, we used to have the Nigerian prince emails, and then move on to these typical link phishing emails, to the people calling you, to now. I was very, very, actually, let's say, if we look at two recent exploits by the time we're recording this, on the Drift, for example, attack that I had, where there was literally human in-person element where these guys were coming at crypto conferences. And of course, we all seen the videos of these AI generated, like now obviously voice cloning and this and that has been used, people interviewing for roles, that are North Korean agents. To what extent can even firms protect themselves against that? Like the human engineering at a crypto event. We both go to crypto events all the time. In crypto, everybody gives their Telegram to everybody, puts their phone next to each other. They go to parties, they go to, and then they do Zoom interviews. I mean, on this, to focus on the people element, the first element you mentioned, what are the attacks that you're seeing that's surprising you the most, and what you think could be done to specifically prevent those?
Yeah, I think it's a very big problem today. By the way, not just in crypto, but across industries, like from banks to very big infrastructure, even right, like electricity and water and so on, where essentially the problem today is that there are very sophisticated and advanced networks of people. Sometimes these are people, they're not even, for example, for DPRK, they're not Koreans, right? There are people that I hired in the the end state that has like all the credentials, like developers and people that have a top-notch experience that would pass a screening process. That, by the way, you should do for any employee that you are accepting, especially if you are managing that amount of money. And then these right, like these people are going to interviews, they are being replaced by other people that look like them in the ID, they're faking IDs and so on. So it's a very sophisticated, hard to detect problem. Some of it we are right, trying to address ourselves. But I think in the end, it all comes down to not relying on one factor to work, right? Like it's okay. Um, be hesitant, right? Like when you're getting suspicious message from in Telegram, because a lot of Telegram accounts are getting hacked. If you are going into a Zoom meeting and someone asks you to download something and run it, right? Like be suspicious and don't do it. Screen the employees and the people that you are meet. Look for reference of people that know them. Have internal, right, like endpoint protection systems on all the devices and all the employees and everything that can touch the infrastructure. Then have a more restrict policy that security always assume that you might get hacked at some point.